Hello and welcome to a debate among the four candidates seeking one of the 3 seats for the Fitchburg School Committee in the November 7th municipal elections. My name is Charles St. Amand, editor of the Sentinel and Enterprise, and we are coming to you today from the fabulous FATV studios. I want to thank FATV Executive Director Glenn Foster and everyone at FATV for partnering with the Sentinel and Enterprise on 4 debates this election season, focusing on this race as well as the contested ward councilor races. We hope these sessions not only inform the public about the election, but also encourage voters to head to the polls on November 7th. I welcome the candidates for school committee and thank them for participating. They are in alphabetical order from the viewers left. Incumbent Juana Escobedo LaRose, incumbent Jean Labelle-Pierce, challenger Rosemary Reynolds, and incumbent Peter Stevens. Our format is simple. I will ask a question and each candidate will have up to 1 minute to respond. Then the candidates will have an additional minute to rebut or debate the question among each other. At the end of the candidates' questions and answers, each candidate will make a 1.5 minute closing statement. Those will also be done in alphabetical order. Our timekeeper is Sentinel and Enterprise City Editor Cliff Clark, who is displaying a digital reading that counts down the time for responses and statements. He will raise his hand when time has elapsed. So candidates, please be mindful of the time. Let's begin with the questions and answers. We will begin in alphabetical order by the candidate's last name. So Ms. Escobedo LaRose will receive the first question first. One of the most important jobs the school committee has is hiring and evaluating the work of the superintendent of schools. If you had to give Superintendent Andre Ravenel a letter grade for his performance, what grade would it be? And what are his strengths and what are his weaknesses?
Oh, that's a really great question. Superintendent Andre Ravenel has done a fantastic job, being the spokesperson for Fitchburg Public Schools, but also making it, making Fitchburg a phenomenal school system. He's brought in some amazing programs. I couldn't give him a letter grade, to be fair with you. I can tell you he's done a fantastic job. I think the Department of Education has us rank him between advanced, proficient, and unsatisfactory. So I tell you, he's been doing a fantastic job. His strengths are communicating with the public, communicating with us as school committee members, and getting to know our demographic and putting Fitchburg first. And at the moment, I couldn't think of a weakness for him.
Okay. Ms. Labelle-Pierce.
I would say in the last 4 years, I have a new appreciation for the skills and the demands that are put on a superintendent. That I work in the education field, and I don't think I really understood what a superintendent's tasked with until I really started to work with Superintendent Ravenel. And I think he has a real focus on students. That is his primary objective in everything that we talk about. He wants the Fitchburg schools to be competitive, and he is innovative. He's willing to listen to all the different stakeholders. He values consensus. He really works to build consensus. So if I had to give him a letter grade, I mean, he's definitely an A. We've had to grade him as a school committee, and we've found that he's done very well.
Ms. Reynolds.
Well, I think that I also would give him an A. I appreciate his congeniality, and the fact that he's approachable, and that he's willing to discuss and learn and accept new ideas. It's a very big point. Fact that he's bilingual is a great asset in these times. And I think he's level-headed and a good leader. Thank you.
Mr. Stevens.
I would give Andre Ravenel an A. His strengths really are communication, consensus building, bringing in new ideas, really getting all of the players at the table and keeping everybody informed. So I'm a big supporter of Mr. Ravenel. I've been on the Personnel Committee, Negotiating Committee, and helped negotiate his last couple of contracts. So I very much appreciate him staying in Fitchburg.
Any follow? Okay, well, the superintendent will be very pleased to hear your assessment of him tonight. The next question goes first to Ms. Labelle-Pierce. The opioid crisis is one that has hit hard in Massachusetts communities, including Fitchburg. Without question, this crisis has had an impact on the student population, and indeed the number of students who have experienced trauma is on the rise. Is the district doing enough for those students? Is there anything specific you believe the district could do for affected students?
Well, I know that this is on everyone's radar, regardless of the school system, and I think that's an important thing for people to understand. This isn't a unique, as you said, it's not unique to Fitchburg. What is unique, I think, in Fitchburg is sort of an all-hands-on-deck approach. We meet regularly. I chair the student support subcommittee, and we meet regularly with Pam Rivers, who heads the nurses and health department, and the nurses have new rules that are being put in place in the last couple of years where they can evaluate students and try to understand if they see drug abuse happening and intervene as necessary. Social emotional learning has been the real focus for school systems across the state, and particularly in Fitchburg. We understand trauma is pervasive, and we have to really directly address it, and we've been working to do that.
Ms. Reynolds.
I think that this is critical, super, super critical. We're talking about lives here, not simply education, but we're talking about people's ability to survive and live with tremendous ramifications of pain and agony to individual families and the society. And I think that we're all coping with it, the whole country's coping with it, but I like the initiatives. This social emotional learning, I think, is key. How can you undergo traumas and et cetera and be expected to be in a learning mode? I'm happy that Fitchburg is one of 5 communities to be launching a positive behavior intervention program, and I'm eager to join that program and learn what the specific needs are. I think we can do this. We can do it's the crying need, and we're there to respond. So it's critical.
Mr. Stevens.
I think Fitchburg has been doing a lot, particularly what Juana and Jean have been doing with the Student Support Committee, bringing to the full committee some of the needs that our students have. I think our special education department is very much involved with students, along with our nursing program, students with opioid problems. And the school committee has been trying to provide as much support, personnel to help that we can gather together. So I think we've been working very hard at supporting our students.
Ms. Escobedo LaRose.
Sure. So as mentioned by Ms. Labelle-Pierce and Mr. Stevens, I too sit in the student support subcommittee, and I don't think there's one meeting where social emotional learning and the needs of our students isn't brought up. As mentioned by Ms. Labelle-Pierce, Pam Rivers has been extremely instrumental in reintegrating our students that may have been out of the high school for a week or two due to illness, whether that's drug abuse or not. We've also rolled out the PBIS, which is what Ms. Reynolds was speaking of, the Positive Behavioral Intervention Support System at some of our schools. And we just had a recent press release on the XL communities, where we're one of 8 or 9 communities in the state that are kind of coming together and talking about the social emotional learning and integrating it into our schools.
Anything else to add, candidates?
I would add, The other part of your question, I guess, was what else would you like to see? And I think if we can work to build more of a network for families, and whether it's forums or workshops or gatherings that we can have at night for parents or grandparents. A lot of grandparents are raising children, and they need support and they need help. I think that would be a great focus, to just broaden the scope and educate not just the child, but the family.
Anyone else? Okay, next question will be posed first to Ms. Reynolds. Funding is always an issue in the schools and directly affects student learning. What is the biggest funding challenge in the future of Fitchburg schools, and what is the best solution for it?
Funding's a challenge all the time. I have hope in our mayor that he will increase the amount that he will put into the education of the citizens of Fitchburg. I think he has an understanding of it and his feet on the ground in that area. So I'd like to see an increase of the city's funds to go to the education. The response to it is to do the best we can and seek whatever kind of grants and funding. I know we're very active on that. I'd like to see that continue. So I think that the state, too, could chip in more and see if we can increase the amounts that are available to give to the students. I'm very happy to hear that every student has a computer now, and which you can take home and continue to study. That's this age, have to have that. Not every school does. And of course the funding, we're a poor community, so it's 100% funding for all the food, lunch, and snack for after-school programs. So I think we're on the march, and I think we're headed in the right direction, and I think we have the personnel that will understand what we need and contribute to it.
Mr. Stevens.
Funding is always a problem, but we've been very fortunate with Mayor DiNatale. He has given us more than required for net school spending. So that has been very important, and the mayor supports education, and he will continue to give us as much as he possibly can. That's why the economic growth in Fitchburg is so important, because as that grows and more funds, we are then able to put more towards education. We also do very well with our school choice funds, which we do a lot with. Fitchburg also, we get every grant that we can possibly get that comes along. We're very competitive. We write grants. Particularly Ms. Giaquinto is outstanding at it and running the Title I, and just being able to distribute those funds. With the superintendent, we keep all of our programs going, not like our sister city who has cut programs. We continue to keep art and music. We keep all athletics. We keep them at the middle schools, elementary, and the high schools. So we are continuing to be a very comprehensive school system, running our AP courses and courses for our general students. And I think we do very well with the money we have. And again, we are growing, which increases our Chapter 70 funds. So that helps.
Ms. Escobedo LaRose.
Golly, that's tough to follow. So really, like Mr. Stevens said, our relationship with the Mayor DiNatale and his office has been critical and integral really through our budgeting process. But at the central office, Mr. Ravenel and his colleagues, Mr. Jokala and Ms. Giaquinto, really have done a fantastic job spreading that money. I mean, we installed solar panels at Memorial and saved money that's going straight back into our students. As mentioned by, I believe, Ms. Reynolds, the active grant department, applying to as many grants as possible and trying to be as competitive. And we brought after-school programs back. to some of the schools in mini grants through the annual gala and the support that comes from our community and our business members and parents alike. So I think as a community, we stretch every dollar we can.
Ms. Labelle-Pierce.
So a lot of people mentioned grants, and the one concern that I have with that is many of these are federal grants, and with different administrations and different priorities, a lot of that could be cut. So depending a lot on grants scares me because they could go away. So I think we have to be really vigilant about what we're spending and how we're spending it. You mentioned school choice. We actually lose more in school choice than we gain. It's great that we gain, but if we had less students opting out or choicing out, then that's funding that we keep. I am really concerned by a lot of the unfunded mandates that come through. We need to figure out how we're going to do the right thing for special education students, for any number of, I'm looking at the time, but any number of students that really need a lot of additional spending. We've got to solve that problem and deal with it.
Okay, I think we're gonna eliminate the rebuttal period for that, since we went a little bit long on that, but that's okay. Mr. Stevens gets the final question tonight. Should a student be required to pass a U.S. history standardized test to graduate from high school? Why or why not?
I think they should have to pass a U.S. history test to graduate. And I think that incumbent upon us as educators to start teaching history, social studies right in our elementary school, and emphasizing the importance of U.S. history. And yes, I think it should be part of our testing, and I think it's something that a high school student should have to pass for graduation.
I do think students should have to pass a history test. We require them to pass the MCAS biology and the MCAS English, so why wouldn't we require them to take a standardized history? That's our history. So I think you said it perfectly.
Okay, so full disclosure, I'm a history teacher, but I have to say I take pause at the idea of yet another MCAS test and a calendar of testing that it all becomes pursuing this score on the MCAS. I don't really want to see that. When I taught in Maryland, all students had to pass a national, state, and local exam, but it didn't absorb everything we did. It just demanded that we teach at least the basics of our democracy and our republic. And so I definitely am in favor of something like that, because honestly, as a history teacher, because we're not an MCAS subject, those courses have been dropped, and they've been morphed into humanities or other kinds of electives, and they're not required. So that is a problem, and I would like to see something. I'm just not sure I want to see another MCAS test.
Ms. Reynolds.
As long as the MCAS system is existing as it is, and it has developed into something that statewide that seems pleasing to educators, I definitely would like to see them know the history. If you don't know that, you have a huge lack in your perspective and the basis of your thoughts. And if anybody has looked at the test that someone is required to pass to become a citizen of this country, you understand how in-depth and serious our history is. So I would be for that.
Anything else to add, candidates?
I would just like, as Jean said, as long as we are testing, then I think the history should be tested along with it. It shouldn't be just the English, the math, the science, but if they're doing the testing, they should do the history.
Well, that concludes our question and answer portion of tonight's session. We now move on to the closing statements. Candidates have 1.5 minutes for their closing statement, and we begin with Ms. Escobedo LaRose.
All right. So I ask that you consider voting for me to continue serving on the school committee. My agenda is transparent. I want to serve the community that welcomed me with open arms when I moved here in 2012. It made me feel at home by ensuring Fitchburg Public Schools continues to be innovative while providing all students with the skills and opportunities to succeed in today's workforce. If I may, I'd like to speak in Spanish as well. Les pido que consideran votar para mí, seguir sirviendo en el comité escolar. Mi agenda es transparente. Quiero servir la comunidad que me recibió con los brazos abiertos cuando me mudé en el 2012 y me hizo sentir como en casa. Asegurar que las escuelas públicas de Fitchburg sigan siendo innovadoras y proporcionen las oportunidades y habilidades para nuestros estudiantes puedan triunfar en el lugar del trabajo de hoy.
Thank you. Ms. Labelle-Pierce.
Thank you. I would ask the residents of Fitchburg to consider voting for me. I feel like I bring a lot of different perspectives to the role of school committee. First, I'm a parent of 2 students in the district, a high school student and a middle school student. I know a lot of students in the district. It is my primary goal as a parent to make sure that they have meaningful educational experience, and I want that for all the kids in Fitchburg. Second, I'm a teacher. I understand the pressures and the needs that teachers feel. I understand that they need support from administration. And I understand that every policy and mandate that comes down from the state affects them at the classroom level. So I'm attuned to that. Third, I spent the last 2 years in an educational management coursework, and I have a CAGS in educational leadership management. I feel like I understand what administrators go through and the vital role that they play in setting a school culture and climate. It's an amazingly demanding job, and I think we need to do all we can to help support them. And finally, I have a perspective as a Red Raider. I grew up in the city. I graduated from Fitchburg High School. I want Fitchburg to be treated with the respect that it deserves. And I want for stakeholders in education to understand the great strengths that our district has. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Reynolds.
My name is Rosemary Reynolds, and I'm asking you to please vote for me in the November election. I'm eager to join the school committee. I am in schools nearly every day as a substitute teacher, and I tell you, it's amazing to be in the public schools. It's the students are very bright and intelligent, and we're all trying to wend our way through these turbulent times that we live in this to cope with this explosion of information. And I'd like to think that I can lend some steadiness and some experience, and I've had many of my family go through the Fitchburg school system. So I'm eager to join the school committee. Please vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens.
Well, I would like to also ask the public to vote for me for school committee. I have been on for 8 years. I'm a graduate of Fitchburg High School. My 3 children are graduates of Fitchburg High School. I am chairman of the Fitchburg High School Alumni Association. I'm on the Crocker Field Restoration Committee. So I like to keep busy with Fitchburg High School. I'm also Fitchburg's representative to CAPS Collaborative, which is a special needs collaborative of 11 cities and towns, of which I am chairman of the board of directors of that collaborative. I am proud to say this past year that the CAPS Collaborative kept its increase to 0% to its member cities and towns. And I've got, like I say, 35 years teacher administrator in Fitchburg, and I would like to continue to offer my services to the students and citizens of Fitchburg. And I want to thank these 3 ladies for being also candidates, and wish them very well. And also, if you could translate for me, I would appreciate that. And
Anytime, Pete.
thank you very much. Please come out and vote for one of us, or all 4 of us.
Thank you, and thank you, candidates, for your participation tonight in this discussion of the 4 candidates for school committee in Fitchburg, a 4-year seat. And we hope registered voters in Fitchburg will make their voices heard at the polls on Tuesday, November 7th. Thank you very much.